Dearborn is a city in the state of Michigan. It is located in Wayne County and is part of the Detroit metropolitan area. Dearborn is the 8th largest city in the state of Michigan. As of the 2010 census, it had a population of 98,153 and is home to the largest Muslim population in the United States per capita. First settled in the late 18th century by ethnic French farmers in a series of ribbon farms along the Rouge River and the South Trail. The community grew in the 19th century with the establishment of the Detroit Arsenal on the Chicago road linking Detroit and Chicago. In the 20th century, it developed as a major manufacturing hub for the automotive industry. Henry Ford was born on a farm here and later established an estate in Dearborn, as well as his River Rouge complex, the largest factory of his Ford empire. He developed mass production of automobiles and based the world headquarters of the Ford Motor Company here. The city has a campus of the University of Michigan as well as Henry Ford College. The Henry Ford, the United States' largest indoor-outdoor historic museum complex and Metro Detroit's leading tourist attraction, is located here. Dearborn residents are Americans primarily of European or Middle Eastern ancestry, many descendants of 19th and 20th century immigrants. The primary European ethnicities, as identified by respondents to the census, are German, Polish, Irish, and Italian. Because of new waves of immigration from the Middle East in the late 20th century, the largest ethnic grouping is now composed of descendants of various nationalities of that area, Muslims and Christians from Lebanon and Palestine, as well as immigrants from Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Before European encounter, the area had been inhabited for thousands of years by successive indigenous peoples. Historical tribes belonged mostly to the Algonquin language family, especially the Council of Three Fires, the Potawatomi and related peoples. In contrast, the Huron were Iroquoian-speaking. French colonists had a trading post at Fort Detroit and a settlement developed there in the colonial period. Another developed on the south side of the Detroit River in what is now southwestern Ontario, near a Huron mission village. French and French-Canadian colonists also established farms at Dearborn in this period. France ceded all of its territory east of the Mississippi River in North America to Great Britain in 1763 after losing to the English in the 7 Years' War. Beginning in 1786, after the United States gained independence in the American Revolutionary War, more European Americans entered this region, settling in Detroit and the Dearborn area. With population growth, Dearborn Township was formed in 1833 and the village of Dearbornville in 1836, each named after Patriot Henry Dearborn, a general in the American Revolution who later served as Secretary of War under President Thomas Jefferson. The town of Dearborn was incorporated in 1893. Through much of the 19th century, the area was largely rural and dependent on agriculture. Stimulated by industrial development in Detroit and within its own limits, in 1927 Dearborn was established as a city. Its current borders result from a 1928 consolidation vote that merged Dearborn and neighboring Fordson, which feared being absorbed into expanding Detroit. According to historian James W. Loewen, in his book Sundown Towns, Dearborn discouraged African Americans from settling in the city. In the early 20th century, both whites and African Americans migrated to Detroit for industrial jobs. Over time, some city residents relocated in the suburbs. Many of Dearborn's residents took pride in the saying, "The sun never set on a Negro in Dearborn." According to Orville Hubbard, the segregationist mayor of Dearborn from 1942 to 1978. As far as he was concerned, it was against the law for a Negro to live in his suburb. Hubbard told the Montgomery Advertiser, in the mid-1950s, "Negroes can't get in here. Every time we hear of a Negro moving in, we respond quicker than you do to a fire." The area between Dearborn and Fordson was undeveloped, and still remains so in part. Once farmland, much of this property was bought by Henry Ford for his estate, Fair Lane, and for the Ford Motor Company world headquarters. Later developments in this corridor were the Ford Airport and other Ford administrative and development facilities. More recent additions are the Henry Ford, the Henry Ford Centennial Library, the Super Regional Shopping Mall Fairlane Town Center, and the Ford Performing Arts Center. The open land is planted with sunflowers and often with Ford's favorite crop of soybeans. The crops are never harvested. With the growth and achievements of the Arab American community, they developed and in 2005 opened the Arab American National Museum, the first museum in the world devoted to Arab American history and culture. Arab Americans in Dearborn include descendants of Lebanese Christians who